Hi, horse racing enthusiasts. This is John. Today is Friday, the 5th of May. It's Oaks Day, so the day before the Kentucky Derby Day, and an exciting time. I wanted to get on with a quick video this morning and try to explain what's going on at Churchill Downs. It really breaks my heart that we have most visibility, most people, horse players like myself, watching the Kentucky Derby and watching the lead up to the Kentucky Derby this week. And what do we have? We have the news of breakdowns of horses and suspensions, horses getting loose. So I wanted to try to get on the air here and really quickly just kind of go through this. Now, it's not an easy subject, and it's easy to sort of gloss over that horses were euthanized, and no one wants to see this. I contend, and I'll hopefully show you ways in this video, that the industry is moving in a direction that is better. I think a single one breakdown is not acceptable, but it happens. It happens just in the normal course of sort of animal husbandry. It's like that these things happen, but some of it can be eliminated, and I think the industry's taken strides to do that. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that if physical sort of muscular skeleton sort of injuries may not always be avoided, but you can eliminate some of the drugs that are used and maybe some of the doping that's used to sort of hide, mask, or push these animals beyond sort of their ordinary tolerances, if you will. So let's try to go through this. I'll try to be delicate with it, and I'll try not to get too deep because it's easy to. And I will, for you, just the horse players that just want to dive in and know what's going on, I'm going to say that first. And that will help you with your handicapping, and then we'll get into the rest of it. So we have several scratches going on. We had one significant scratch prior to the Derby, prior to the draw. So it didn't impact your 1 through 20, and then 3 also eligibles. That was the winner of the Sunland Derby, Wild on Ice. The jockey is Ken Tohill. So Wild on Ice, unfortunately, in training, suffered a break in one of or a stress fracture or a slight fracture in one of his legs. Was able to walk off into the van, but through medical science and all, they know that these kind of injuries, horses are different. If one leg is hurt, then they actually are susceptible to other things in the other legs. It's kind of a weird sort of thing, but they had to euthanize Wild on Ice, and it was a very traumatic experience. It was a gelding, but a very long shot win of the Sunland Derby. The jockey, the connections are just heartbroken, so I even hate to say this, but let's just talk about what a story this was going to be on Derby Day. The jockey is 40 years jockey, out in Sunland, 4,000 wins, amazing, 4,000 wins. Sunland Derby was his first graded stakes win, and he was going to compete in the Kentucky Derby, and unfortunately the horse broke down, and it's just sudden. So, all right, so that Wild and Ice, you can't really, those things are going to happen from time to time. It's like there's high highs and low lows of horse racing. Practical Move scratched yesterday, number 10 on your past performances. Basically, this is an example of how the horse racing industry is moving forward, taking steps to improve and to get ahead of the game. The horse woke up with a fever yesterday after a workout on the weekend, and in abundance of caution, they scratched the horse. So maybe there's something more to it. It could be nothing. It could be a virus. It could be anything. But it could be, maybe there's a stress fracture there, and the body is trying to recuperate and trying to get better in the reason for the fever. All right, so another scratch we have is Lord Miles. Lord Miles is number 19 on your Lord Miles is number 19 on your past performances, and this is where we get into some of the hairy stuff. Lord Miles scratched yesterday because the trainer, Josie Saffis Jr., Safi Jr. was suspended, and he was suspended as a result of two horses earlier in the week. Parents' Pride and Chasing Artie died suddenly, and we don't. Horses can and from time to time do die suddenly, right? Any people die suddenly, but when you have two horses with the same trainer at the same track die suddenly while in training at this track, it brings up a question of like what's going on. And I think Churchill Downs is trying to get ahead of all these issues. That we know that Baffert's been suspended for 2 years for violations of medication protocols. These two horses died suddenly. He's heartbroken. Everyone's all up in arms about it, and they should be. And it sounds like he's saying, Safi Joseph is saying that, he hasn't had something like this, but I mean, he hasn't had two, but I do remember he had someone who was significant in training die suddenly. So it definitely, the commission and Churchill Downs is privately owned by Churchill Downs Group. They have the right to sort of suspend whomever they like, and they have go ahead and suspend it. So we'll see what happens. There's necropsies going on. They're going to figure out, what was the issue. If there is a drug issue, it's going to be bigger deal. Now the question is, what about all his horses at Gulfstream? We're getting ready to go to Saratoga. I think he races at Parks quite a bit, Monmouth. So maybe there'll be more here for that. So Wild on Ice it didn't impact the past performances. Practical moves out. Cyclone Mischief comes in, so number 21 on your program. And then Lord Miles is out, and Mandarin Hero, which now all of a sudden we have 3 Japanese horses that are in the race, right? And it's interesting because like everyone's saying the Japanese contingent. This Mandarin Hero out in the Santa Anita Derby was charging late and almost beat Practical Moves. I think Practical Moves won barely. So it's not a small addition, not a small change to this to the race. So we're gonna have to come back and take another look at that. So number 22 in your program, Mandarin Hero is in the race. So, and then we have this, right? There's a couple other rumors of a couple other scratches, and I just it almost feels like snake bit a little bit. But Verifying yesterday got loose while on going out, and sometimes they jog, sometimes they just walk around the track, get familiar with it. The animals of instinct and familiarity, and anyhow got loose running. So when you ever see a horse running loose, it's kind of fun on the track, right? It's fun on the track, right? I think a couple of years ago there was someone who scratched, and got loose and ran backwards the wrong way. The outriders got him. Even though it looks fun, it is relatively dangerous for the jockey who gets thrown in the horse when he's running on his own. So, excuse me, I had a sneeze coming there. So, when the horse is loose, they're herd animals, they're frightened animals, they're afraid of predators. They bolt for what they call the gaps in the track, meaning where horses come on and off. They look for that, and then if you get them loose in the back barn area, that's nuts. So they can get hurt very easily. Excuse me. Sorry about that, folks. All right. So anyhow, they can get hurt easily, and we don't know what happened with Verifying. Sometimes it might take a day or two to get through that whole process, but we'll see. So maybe we have a scratch of Verifying, and then King Russell gets in So, we may be shaking this up even a little more. And then on Twitter, this could be just one of those Twitter things, but we have rumors of Forte. And I've seen a couple of people saying on solid authority that Forte is 50-50. So let's stay tuned and see what happens. So where does this leave us? I can see someone just picks up to see the Derby, picks that up and says, I want to get into the Derby this year. And 150,000 people will be on site, and millions more will be watching. And they'll hear all these stories, and what it really disguises is the efforts that the industry is doing to prepare and to make it safer for both for the athletes involved, right, equine as well as human athletes involved. And so I want to just briefly go through, because this is a whole course. I actually taken this course at University of Louisville, so I've got a little bit of understanding of what's going on in the industry. So let me give you a quick insight to it. So before I do that, but you see the suspensions, the high level suspensions of Baffert, and sticking to their guns and going through the court process, and other people are being suspended. And I see the industry taking steps, and this thing is all that people are going to read about are that, and it's significant. So I'm not trying to make light of it, but it's a significant issue. So anyhow, what is horse racing industry doing? Well, unlike your football, your baseball, where you have centralized leadership, where you have a commissioner, you have a commissioner's office, you have someone administrating the rules. Horse racing has 40 different jurisdictions, 40 different states, 40 different commissions running their individual racing and state programs, right? Where the federal government is starting to come in and has come in is with respect to one law that was passed on the heel in the COVID relief bill, if you can imagine, which set up the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act. That act is under sort of, it basically grants power to the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and then and establishes the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety program, basically. And what happens there is that the institution it provided to set up and establish a private nonprofit organization called the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority. It was set up to do two things. One, provide for safety at racetracks, and then two, anti-doping and medication protocols. So, that's a significant thing. The last July 1st, I think, the racetrack safety programs were established. They have been instituted. They're live in all but 4 states. Those 4 states are Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and I forget the last one. But they are so those states have opted out of it, right, and are fighting it in court. The issue becomes, and can these states opt out and not participate in sort of the multi-state simulcasting or wagering? And I think at the end of the day they're going to have to get in. But who am I to say? There's long histories and families and very strong opinions about this. I read an editorial by the Attorney General of Louisiana, basically said that we've had horse racing for 300 plus years, and the back fields of Louisiana. We know our horses, we know our breeding, we know our pedigrees, we know our program, and we've been able to regulate it for all these years. Why do we have to hand it over to the government? Now the challenges that yesterday, believe it or not, yesterday came out. One of the challenges to the constitutional challenges that were outstanding. This is the one in the Fifth Circuit of Texas, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, on the non-delegation doctrine. That came back yesterday, and it looks like at the end of this year, 2022, Mitch McConnell put in a bill to help solidify the CFTC, right? Because it considered a violation of the appointment clause. In essence, the executive branch has the authority to appoint and regulate, right? The way that the law was originally set up is that the law established HISA, right? And then HISA went out and hired, let's say, people to screen, right? To screen for the drugs and the doping and that kind of thing. So they basically gave the power to a nonprofit organization, and that organization is going out to to a profitable organization, I would say, and try to regulate the industry, right? So some of the states said this was a violation of the appointment clause. McConnell's repair, if you will, of that in December put more controls in with this Federal Trade Commission, and it looks like it looks like, at least I haven't read the brief, but it sounds like it was concluded yesterday, and it looks like the Fifth Circuit is fine. There's a couple other cases pending, particularly on the anti-doping in the medical, and there are the violation of commanding powers. In essence, where I was going before, states' rights, right? The 10th Amendment. If you look at laws or regulations, not specified in our Constitution, are for the benefit, are for the states and for the people, right? And so here we say, well, no one sees horse racing in the Constitution, so they're fighting that. And then the violation of the due process, which I think is pretty significant. So right now, you say, how does due process come in here? Right now, what you have is violations. I think under the anti-doping and under HISA, all jockeys, all trainers, all actors had to get in and register. Right, they had to register by their type or whatever, and then all horses are registered. And then they established this anti-doping program, which was to roll out until there was a couple of stays in March. I think it's going to be sometime in May. But they have essence protocols. They have limits, levels. The whole argument of like, was an overage of medicine, or did they pick it up in a horse ate hay where another horse urinated and that had an overage or whatever? There's a lot of back and forth, or the grooms had muscle rub on their own body and happened to touch the horse, and all these little sort of nuances. Well. Due process is like in any other sort of if you're guilty until proving innocent, that seems completely un-American, right? So the due process has to be injected in here somewhere. You can't just be automatically summarily suspended. These are people's livelihoods. There's a lot of things going on. We have to balance that with the health of the horse and the fairness of the game. So at the end of the day, there have been things like pre-suspension hearing. It looks like Safi Joseph was talking to the commission yesterday, so it sounds like there was a pre-hearing, to suspension, so offering up at least the appearance of due process. Those are the kind of things that have been interjected into the bills, and they're making their way through the legal system. Maybe it'll be heard at the Supreme Court. We'll soon find out. So anyhow, I wanted to get on. I don't want to get any further into that. There's a lot to it, but the horse racing industry is doing things to get involved here, and it's actually working. You can see the efforts that they're trying to make. Now, there were very publicized breakdowns, particularly in the past, with Barbaro and others, which tug at the heartstrings, and it's a bad thing, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's improving. I think the statistics bear that out, and soon we'll find. So now let's transcend back to the Kentucky Derby. I'll monitor today any other scratches. I'll come out with a video later today with respect to what I like as far as a daily double. I'm thinking of 2 fills. I'm thinking of 3 horses in the Oaks today, and then 2 in the 3 in the Oaks today, and then 2 in the Derby tomorrow. And let's see if we can't make this. One of the things that I like in the Oaks today, 30 to 1 shot, Promise of America. So I'm going to do a double with that 8 in the Oaks today, and then with long shots in the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, 2 fills, 3 and the 4. So 8 with the 3, $4, $5 will cost you $10. if it were to come in, it would probably pay pretty handsomely. So at any rate, more later. Stay tuned, horse race enthusiasts. Hopefully this wasn't too long for y'all, and good luck at the track. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.